Mark Friedman has a purpose. As managing partner and co-founder of Evolved Profits, he and his team have over 40 years of experience in helping businesses free up cash so that it can be reinvested into helping employees, growing the business, and creating positive social impact. He is a serial entrepreneur, CEO, and the best-selling author of Expense to Profit: Eliminate the Costs That Sabotage Your Growth. Mark loves helping companies create more profits while being an agent for change. This is his purpose, and in an effort to help more companies and more people, Mark, along with co-host Yannick Silver, author of Evolved Enterprise, bring you Profits with Purpose, a podcast that aims to do just that. On the show, Mark and Yannick talk to successful corporate decision makers, exploring valuable lessons learned, experiences in growing a company, ways to reduce expenses, and all the ways a company can have a positive social impact. Join us each week and get in on the discussion so we can all have more profits with purpose. And now, here's your host, Mark Friedman.
Welcome to Profits with Purpose. Today's guest is Derek Volk. He's the CEO of Volk Packaging Corporation, and he's the owner as well as a third-generation family-owned and operated corrugated box manufacturer in Biddeford, Maine. He's been at work at Volk since high school. He's been running the company for nearly 30 years. Derek and his wife, Amy, also founded a contract packaging company, Volk Paxit, in 2021. He's a Maine businessman, Maine being the state, best-selling author, former radio personality, and nationally recognized public speaker. He's a grateful supporter of veterans organizations and created the Volk Packaging Heroes Wall as a way to honor members of the U.S. Armed Forces, past and present. Along with his family, Derek was named the 2015 Spurwink Humanitarian of the Year. That same year, Maine Biz named Derek to their next list, recognizing him as one of Maine's business trailblazers. In 2020, Derek was inducted into the Manufacturers Association of Maine's Manufacturers Hall of Fame. Derek, welcome to Profits with Purpose.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Did I miss anything? I get it all right?
No,
I always wonder.
That sounds good.
That's great.
And I'm a grandfather. So.
Oh, well, congratulations. Me too.
That's my favorite title.
Isn't that the best thing?
It is.
Being a
wonderful.
grandfather.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's such a blessing, right?
It is a blessing.
Anyhow, let's talk about, how you guys grew your business. So let's start there.
So the company was started in 1967, almost 56 years ago, by my father and my grandfather. In 1974, my uncle joined the business, and so was my father, grandfather, and uncle for many years. Eventually, I joined the company, and in 2000, my grandfather retired, my father retired, my uncle retired, and so now it's just myself and my wife in the business. So it's still family business. We have 120 associates between Volk Packaging and Volk Paxit. And I'm very, very blessed because people ask me all the time, how do we keep being successful year after year? And I said, well, I'm never the smartest person in the room. And people think I'm being coy or humble, but really that's the truth, is I have amazing people around me that really are really good at what they do. And I think I do a pretty good job of letting them do it and not trying to micromanage them. I let them do their job, which allows me to travel and go see my granddaughter and do things I want to do and continue to run the company. So it's a real blessing. The company's doing great. This will be our 14th consecutive year of growth, and expecting 15 to be next year. So it's cool. It's a good thing. Things are going well.
Very nice. It's always great when success breeds success, right?
Yep, exactly.
So so you said you and your wife were wondering. I didn't realize that your wife was also involved because she's got a pretty interesting background as well. You guys have been married 33 years or something like that, and she's a former state Senate assistant majority leader.
Yeah.
So I guess she knows how to work her way around the legislature a little bit.
She does, yeah. She works part-time and she does our social media. She's our communications director. And so if they're doing something stupid up in Augusta, she's the one that goes up and fights for Maine businesses and does a great job doing it. Serves us some boards. Yeah, it's good.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So let's talk about, obviously you've had great success growing your business from 14 in 2023 is going to make it 15. What are the challenges that you had? And you started, Volk Paxit in 2021 in the middle of COVID. I got a story for that one too, but what were the challenges of expanding your business?
People has been the biggest challenge the last few years, is just finding good people. Maine is the oldest state in the country, so demographically, so it's the workforce is limited. And right now there are 3 available job openings for every unemployed person in the state. So even if everybody went to work, there'd still be lots of job openings. So getting good people, keeping good people has been probably the biggest challenge over the last couple of years. Of course, COVID was a nightmare that we all had to go through, and all the changes that we had to make and to keep people safe. I'm very proud of the fact that we never shut down for a single hour during COVID. And we actually expanded. We went to 3 shifts, partly to keep people safe and to spread them out a little more, and partly because we were continuing to grow. And we made it through all of 2020 without a single case of COVID. 21 and 22, not so much, but 2020, we got through the entire year, worked the entire time, and didn't have a single case of COVID. So that's something I'm very proud of. So that's been a real challenge the last few years. And then we had a customer reach out to us for a project right in the middle of COVID to package and to count and package a critical product for the fight against COVID. We didn't know if we could do it, but we were like, yeah, we can do that for you. And figured out how to do it. And lo and behold, we realized, geez, we're actually pretty good at this. Maybe we could do it for other people. And that's how Volk Paxit got started. And it's been a great success, growing, and looking forward to a great year next year.
Interesting. That's so cool how a customer reaches out for a project that you've never done, and all of a sudden a new business is born. That's amazing.
I know. It's crazy.
Right?
But it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been a good connection. Volk Packaging is a corrugated box plant, so we make boxes. Volk Paxit is a contract packaging company. So Volk Paxit will take the customer's product, put it in the box, store it, and then ship it when the customer, either ship it back to the customer or ship it to their customer. So we do we're fully integrated with e-commerce. So when the customer gets an order for through their website, it comes right to us. We fulfill the order, and the customer doesn't have to even worry about it. And we're slowly growing that business as we learn what we need and what we don't need. I have a young, aggressive sales rep down there. We have the world's #1 podcast about contract packaging called Let Us Paxit, Paxit, Let Us Paxit. You can get that on Spotify and Apple. It's actually the only podcast about contract packaging, but we try to leave that detail out. We like to call it the world's #1 podcast on contract packaging.
It's yours to own.
So until someone proves us wrong.
There you have it, 100%. Well, that's great. That's just absolutely amazing. So like I'm an author as well, but let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Like about what motivated you to write a book and how does it help your business?
I don't know how much it helps my business because it was very different, but I had a gentleman come in and talk to me one day, and he said, you should write a book. And I said, what would I write a book about? He said, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Doesn't even have, he said, just write a book, because if you have a book and you hand it to a potential client, you look good. It increases your credibility. He said, it doesn't even have to be good. The book can stink. He goes, nobody's going to probably read it anyway. He said, just write a book. And so I was like, that's not actually that bad an idea. So I sat down to write a book, and I'm staring at a blank screen. Out of the blue, I heard a voice. It wasn't audible, but it was so clear, it almost was like, where did that come from? And the voice said, that's not the book you're supposed to write. You're supposed to write a book about Dylan. And Dylan is my son. He's 31 and he's on the autism spectrum. And I started writing. And before I knew it, I was, pages and pages into it. And that's how I ended up with a book which is right here, right there, Chasing the Rabbit, A Dad's Life Raising His Son on the Spectrum. which you can get at chasingtherabbit.org. And then my son and I spent 4.5 years traveling around the country talking at autism conferences about our story. Unfortunately, COVID killed our speaking career. What do they say? Video killed the radio star. Well, COVID killed the talk circuit. So my son actually had a speaking gig in San Diego a few weeks ago. So that's the first gig we've had, either one of us have had in, since COVID. But that's okay. The book kind of ran its course and was not the, New York Times bestseller that maybe I hoped. Oprah never mentioned it, but it had an impact on people that I never in a million years anticipated. We have over 200 5-star reviews on Amazon, and the speaking engagements that we did, over 100 speaking engagements in over 20 states, and the impact that had on people was better than any sale I ever could have received from the book. So I'm very proud of it. And every once in a while, I'll get it, because it's still available on Amazon and through my website. And I'll still get, and people, it's at a lot of libraries. And I still will get an email every now and then thanking me for sharing our story and how much it impacted somebody's family. And that's just really priceless. So I'm very, very blessed by that. And very thankful that Dylan was willing to share his story, because it was very brave of him to do that, because there's a lot of his dirty laundry in this book. And because I wrote it, it's the most often comment I get is how honest and raw it is. The truth is, the reason it's raw and honest is because I didn't think anybody was ever going to read it. I figured I'd write this book, and as soon as I told Dylan about it, he'd shoot it down. Or my wife, who was in the legislature at the time, would be, saying, you can't share all this personal stuff with the public. But they were both very supportive, and it was just an incredible, incredible ride we had with the book. And I'm very thankful. I got to spend a lot of time with Dylan, which was great. And we'll always have that connection. So it's really special.
Yeah, it's truly an amazing thing where you can take something so personal, create a great delivery mechanism out of it, like a book, to tell those really truthful stories where other people experiencing very similar, if not identical things as you experienced with Dylan. And they can take that and say, wow, it's not us.
Yep. I had so many parents say to me, I thought I was the only one going through this. I felt so alone, especially when we would speak in rural areas. People felt very isolated. It's a very isolating thing to have a child with a disability. And it can be very hard, especially if you don't have the services around you. So it hit a lot of people really, really personally. And for that, I'm very thankful.
Amazing.
I am writing another book now, which I haven't done as much as with it I want to, but I'm getting there. When I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Manufacturers Hall of Fame, I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about in my little speech that I had to give. And I ended up doing a little speech called Everything I Know About Business I Learned by Coaching Girls Softball. And I got a lot of comments about about it. So I'm actually writing a book now about all the similarities and things that I learned by coaching softball that I can take to the business world. And I'm having fun writing that and retelling all my old softball stories. I coached my daughters in softball for a long time. So hopefully that'll be out next.
Really cool. Yeah, it's amazing when we can take those real life experiences and apply them to day and how those can actually help us be more successful in business. It's amazing. Can't wait. Looking forward to be able to read that.
Great.
So let's talk about, we talk about profits with purpose and about the different things we do and creating social impact. Let's talk, you guys are doing a lot of stuff. Let's talk about what you guys are doing from a social impact statement and how you guys are affecting your community.
Yeah. Well, it all starts with our mission statement, which is based on that exact thing. Our mission statement is led by God, managed by a family, committed to company, coworkers, and community, and making boxes while making a difference. That's our mission statement. Because at the end of the day, one of the things I learned when I wrote my book and was sharing my book is that if I die and my obituary says he made a lot of boxes, I failed. That's not what I want my obituary to say. I'm very proud of what we do here at Volk Packaging, but what we do here at Volk Packaging, making boxes is the mechanism that I use to keep 100 people healthy and employed with a good job that they can be proud of, and to give back to the community and to give back to the world that I feel gave me so much, because I've been very blessed. I mean, I could have been born anywhere. I could have been born in Afghanistan. I happened to be born into a family that owned a business and was able to join that business. And I think I've done a good job taking what they did and doing something bigger with it and better, and growing what my grandfather and father started in 1967. My father is very kind to say that I did all the time. And, I just wish my grandfather could see what we built. So
Don't be so sure he doesn't see that.
Oh, I know he does. He does. And yesterday would have been my grandmother's 99th birthday. So, and it's my parents' 59th anniversary. So happy anniversary to my parents. So yeah, I believe very strongly that for those who are given much, much is required. And that's kind of how I've tried to lead the company. So we do a lot of giving to the community, particularly, as you mentioned, with veterans issues. That's kind of been something I've been very passionate about. I'm a history buff. I'm not a veteran myself, which makes me, I think, even more, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, but certainly extremely appreciative of the people that served and are currently serving, because I didn't do it. I got to come in here every day. Nobody's shooting at me. They may be shooting, laser eyes at me, but that's about it. I know I'm going to go home safe for most, pretty much every day. I don't have to worry about that. My son-in-law is a police officer, so I'm very respectful of that as well. But the people that served in the armed forces, they signed on the dotted line that they would give their life for me so I can come in here every day and make boxes. How do I pay that back? And so I've tried to pay it back by giving back to organizations that support veterans. And that includes the Heroes Wall, which you can see here, right there. I'm not much of a weatherman, am I? But they're make a good weatherman. But our Heroes Wall, which has now donated $40,000 to the local VFW, because every penny that goes to the Heroes Wall for those tiles, we have over 500 tiles on the wall. It has room for about 750. And when we're done, I'll probably build another wall and expand it. But every penny that we raise through the Veterans Heroes Wall goes to the local VFW. So they've been able to do some amazing things with it. They, built a ramp for a veterans family and they've put in a new, even a new dehumidifier in the VFW, so the veterans can go and be comfortable when they're there. But they donate to just countless veterans in the community. So I don't know all the veterans' needs in the community, so I donate to the VFW and they donate back. We also donate to an organization called House in the Woods, which is up in Lee, Maine, where I have a camp. A camp in Maine is a cottage, summer cottage. In Maine, they call it a camp. So House in the Woods, Paul House, a gentleman who lives right in Lee, lost his son in 2007 to an IED, Joel House. And he, much like I did with my book, he had a vision of starting a veterans organization to bring veterans to Maine to hunt and fish and to bond with each other and realize they're not alone what they're going through. So I was able in 2020, I was invited to go on a bear hunt with House in the Woods, and I got to see firsthand what they do, and it's amazing. The work they do and the connection that these veterans have up there at House in the Woods is incredible. So if you're watching this and you're a hunter, just Google House in the Woods, Lee, Maine, and you can apply to go on a moose hunt, a bear hunt, deer hunt, fishing. They hunt and fish all year long, and they do amazing work. And then another organization is called the Travis Mills Foundation, also here in Maine. Travis was one of very few. At one point, there were only 5 veterans in the history of American war that had lost all 4 limbs and survived. And Travis Mills is one of them. He has an amazing story. If you Google Travis Mills, you'll get all kinds of information. And he brings veterans here to Maine with their families. A lot of veterans with that are amputees, and they fish, and they go inner tubing, and they play golf. Travis and another 4-limb amputee actually play golf together, and Travis jokes. Travis has got a great sense of humor, and he very self-deprecating, and he says we had one cart, no limbs. So these guys went and played golf, and it's just an amazing organization. Travis does an incredible job. So those are two organizations that we do a lot with. We also, there's a Maine Veterans Project. He works really hard to help veterans who are suicidal. As you know, that's a terrible problem. 22 veterans a day kill themselves. And a guy named Sean Doc Goodwin, he was a paramedic, and so they call him Doc, and he started the Maine Veterans Project. And that's been a great blessing and to a lot of people here in Maine, and we give to that. And he has Windy Warriors that takes veterans skydiving. I'm a skydiver, so I enjoy doing that with them. And then another thing that we do for veterans is my wife, when she was in the legislature, she visited the local veterans home, and she was saying, the woman was telling her how when a veteran passes, they don't have boxes. She mentioned that we own a box company. And she said, oh, when a veteran passes, we have to go into the kitchen and find a box to pack up their stuff. And my wife was like, we might be able to help you with that. So we created a beautiful box with a silhouette of a veteran, and we donated to all the veterans' homes in New England. And now when a veteran passes, they can give the veteran's family their belongings in a respectable box instead of a, box they grabbed out of the kitchen that has, food in the bottom of it or something. Wow. And if there's any veterans homes available listening that are watching or listening, we can ship those boxes to you as well, no charge. So we deliver them to the ones in New England. And so that's been really nice too. So lots of things that are in the veteran sphere.
Cool.
And we give to lots of other organizations as well.
What a blessing to be able to give back, right?
It really is. Yeah, it really is. And it pays dividends.
So I got to imagine that, every business has expenses. Obviously, you guys do corrugated, right? So I guess that's probably one of your biggest expenses other than one of payroll, right? Yeah. But did you guys have any issues getting corrugated and stuff and what you needed to be able to, do what you guys do? I mean, you were able to grow, but I know supply chain was a huge problem, especially with corrugated.
It was for us as well. Yeah, we went through a period where we were on allocation. So we could only bring in a certain amount of board a day. And that makes growth difficult because they're basing that on your last year's sales, and sales were growing at a faster rate than our allocation was. And so it was crazy. At one point our customers are used to 5 to 7 day lead time. We were up to 16-week lead time.
Wow. We
couldn't keep up. We couldn't find people. We couldn't get board. It was just 21 and 22, beginning of 22 were crazy. We hired like crazy. We hired 52 people in 2021. 52 Amazing. People. I think the last I checked, 38 are still here. So I don't know if that was a month or two ago. So we have a company party every year where we honor everybody that's been here for 5 years. In 2026, when all those 21 hires have been here 5 years, we're gonna have to start the party at like 8 a.m. because it's gonna be so long to get through all those presentations. That would be a wonderful thing if all those people stick around that long. But things have settled down. You know, the economy slowed down a lot. So we've slowed down. As the economy slowed down, people don't need as many boxes. But people are still buying online. Of course, the online sales have gone crazy the last couple of years. So we've been able to get board, we're able to get what we need to service our customers. And now we're looking at some new machinery that's going to just help us grow right into the next decade.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I guess the Paxit business benefits from the online part.
The Paxit benefits from online. The Paxit also benefits, the detriment of others. The Paxit business benefits from the fact that people can't find labor. Because what we do is, we go into our customers. We have 1,000 customers with Volk Packaging. And when we walk into those customers and we see them doing something manually, we just say, are you having any trouble finding people to do that? And of course, the answer is always yes. And we say, we can do that for you. Why invest in expanding your building, hiring a bunch of people that you can't find? Just send it to Paxit. We'll pack it up for you and send it right back to you. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to increase your payroll. You don't have to increase your bricks and mortar. You don't have to get a second mortgage or go rent a building somewhere. We'll do it for you. let us pax it. So that's how we came up with the podcast. Yeah.
No,
And
it's great.
it's been great. We've really helped a lot of customers, and it helps our Volk packaging business because now they're more committed to Volk packaging, and we'll take the boxes and we'll ship them to Volk Paxit, and then we'll pack them up and ship it.
Amazing. So this is one of my favorite questions I like to ask guests.
All right.
What's
Fire
the
away.
best piece of advice you've ever been given? And if you have somebody you can remember to attribute it to, who would that be?
The best piece of advice I've ever been given. I don't know if it was a specific piece of advice. It was more advice through learning by watching my father and my uncle and how they ran the company. I didn't have the pleasure of really working with my grandfather. By the time I graduated college, he had already retired. He spent a few days on the road with me when I was a sales rep, but I never got to work with my grandfather. But it's funny because last week we got some snow, and the guy that plows our driveway used to be one of our truck drivers. And so I was talking with him, and he said, the biggest mistake I ever made was leaving Volk Packaging. I said, really? I said, well, he said, yeah, I left. I went to a supermarket. I figured that's recession proof, but I always thought I never should have left Volk Packaging. He said, and I'll tell you one reason why. When my wife went into the hospital one time, your father was the first one to visit her. And I watched that. I watched that growing up. We used to go to football games that our employees' kids were playing in, and I'd be like, why are we going to this football game? Well, because our Flexo operator's son is playing in it. He's the wide receiver or a quarterback or whatever. And the care that my father always showed for people, I mean, even today, we had a retirement party. I just left. We had a retirement party right before this interview with a woman who's been here 43 years. And she left for a few years. So she actually, to have kids, and then came back. So she was here 43 years, but she started here when I was 6. I'm now 53 and she's retiring. And we're all pretty choked up about it because we've been in business 55 years and she's been here 43 of them. So Volk Packaging without Barbie is just not going to be the same. And during the party, my father FaceTimed us so he could say good, wish Barbie well from the golf course in Florida. So even 15 years after he retired, he's still doing those little things that matter. And that's one of the things I talked about actually in my Hall of Fame speech in my book. The small ball matters. When you coach softball, bunting and stealing are a big part of the game, not as way more than in baseball. And when you have a coach that doesn't understand that coaches softball like they're coaching baseball, they're going to run into trouble because it's a different game. It's not the same game. And when it comes to running a business, small ball matters. Yeah, you can give big bonuses and make a big announcements and things for people. But when you call someone when they're sick, or when example I was in Denver with Dylan, and I knew that one of my employees was a big Broncos fan. So I bought him a hat. You can buy a hat online. You can buy a hat. It's probably at Dick's Sporting Goods. But when I was in Denver, I bought a hat and I brought it back to him. And it's those little things that you do that really separate you at the end of the day. So that's probably the best advice I ever got, was just watching what my father and how he treats customers and employees, and trying to live up to those, fill those shoes, which were pretty big.
Amazing. That's great advice. It really is. I mean,
I'll tell you one of the best inspirations I got, which was the opposite. When I first graduated college, I went to play golf with my father, and we ran into this guy that my father knew, and he said, "This is Derek. He's going to be the third generation to take over the business." And the guy looked at me and said, "Oh, so you're the one who's going to run it into the ground?" And I said,
"What?"
And he said, "Yeah, yeah, typical rags to riches to rags. First generation builds it, second generation gets it up to a height, and the third generation drives it right into the ground." So I don't make a decision without thinking about that guy, because I will not prove him right. I will die before I prove that guy right.
It's amazing. And that may have been the best advice. I mean, obviously, right? But obviously your father is a great example for sure. But that may have been the best advice, because
yeah, When you
You're-
said that, that was actually the first thing that came to my mind. And I thought, well, that's not really advice.
No, it really is.
But it was.
It really was, because it was basically watch your P's and Q's, watch how you dot your I's and cross your T's, because you're not going to be, you're going to be the one who runs it there. No, I'm not going to, that's not going to be me. Right?
Yep. Everybody's
gonna be
expecting you to fail. You know,
Amazing.
you walked into this successful business. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
And
Amazing.
so it's been an inspiration, and also, like I said, I when I make a major decision, a major purchase, we're very close to pulling the trigger on a major piece of machinery, and I sit there and think, okay, you know, Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, would say that it's, you know, you want to make sure that you repair the boat above the waterline, because if you repair the boat under the waterline and you don't do it right, you got a big problem. And, you know, he would call it repairing the boat above the waterline. And I would say, okay, am I proving that guy right? You know, I got to make sure that no matter what happens, this decision doesn't prove him right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you want to touch on?
Oh, I could talk all day, so I won't keep your audience any longer.
No, that's been great. This has been wonderful. Where can listeners go to learn more about you or get in contact with you if they'd like?
Yeah, you can go to volkboxes.com. That's our website, volkboxes.com. And our volkpaxit.com is our website for our contract packaging business. If you want to learn more about the Heroes Wall or honor your veteran, they don't have to live in Maine. They don't have to be anywhere around here. I've received tiles from all over the country through LinkedIn. So if you're interested, go to volkboxes.com. There's an application there to get a tile for your hero. And then if you're interested, if you know someone on the autism spectrum or a family that's dealing with someone on the autism spectrum, you can go to chasingtherabbit.org to get my book.
Phenomenal. We'll put all that in the show notes. Derek, this has really been a lot of fun. I wish you nothing but the best success, because you're going to prove that guy wrong for sure.
I am.
You already are. Forget it. You already did. You are doing, you will, you have, you're going to continue the great success you have. What a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Profits with Purpose. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested in reducing the expenses of your business, creating positive social impact, or contributing to the show, reach out to Mark or Yannick with Evolved Profits by emailing podcast@evolvedprofits.com or visiting the website www.evolvedprofits.com.